Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Amma ba'd, habibti fillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أسأل الله كريم رب العرش العظيم أن يتولنا في الدنيا والآخرة. حبيبي في الله, welcome back to our Tafseer benefits. And in this sitting, we're going to mention some of the benefits that Imam As-Sa'di, rahmatullahi alayhi, rahmatul wasiya, says about the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu wasta'inu bis-sabri was-salah. Inna Allaha ma'a sabirin. O you who believe, seek help through patience and prayer, for Allah is with those who are patient. Ahabati fillah, Imam As-Sa'di rahmatullahi alayhi rahmatin wasi'ah, he says, here Allah commands the believers to seek help in their religious and worldly affairs through patience and prayer. Patience means controlling oneself in the face of that which one dislikes. And that is of three types. Patience and obedience to Allah, so that you will do it. Patience in refraining from disobedience to Allah, so that you will not do it. And patience in accepting the decree of Allah when it is hard, so that you will not resent it. So here Imam As-Sa'di, rahmatullahi alayhi, rahmatan wasiyah, he mentions the three maratib al-sabr, the three levels or anwa, types of patience. Sabr على طاعة الله, صبر عن معصية الله, والصبر على إقدار الله, which means patience and obedience to Allah. In that you're worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that requires patience, because you're not always eager to get up for Fajr. You're not eager necessarily always to go to Taraweeh. You're not eager to stand in the night prayer and get up and use cold water for wudu or whatever, or to fast, the mashaqqa, the difficulty that comes with fasting Ramadan. It's not that your nafs are always inclined, but you do that obedience to Allah for the pleasure of Allah and because it's a duty of Allah. So we call this sabr ala ta'atillah, because there may be something of it that you don't enjoy or that you dislike. It's not that you hate the obedience to Allah, that's something different. But there's difficulty, and no one wants difficulty. And then patience and refraining from disobedience to Allah. So you may want to look at that thing that which is haram. You may want to touch that thing which is haram. You may want to eat or drink those things which are haram. And min bab al-fa'idah, right now, it's Ramadan day, and it's haram to eat pizza. It's haram to eat halal food for me. Why? Because fasting is wajib at this time. So at this time, those normal things which are mubah and permissible are muharram. So that's a bab al-fa'idah. And so that means that which you would like, of course right now I would love to have a picnic here, to make a spread, have various types of cakes and pies and fruits and a beautiful delicious salad with dressing and vinegar and a big fat steak, halal. What a delicious, or some buttered chicken or something. Not torturing myself, but I want you to get the point. All of those things you will love. And as I envision, boy, those things are delicious. But for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we forsake every bit of it, even one date. Even from a sip of the river, as we're thirsty. But this water could have bacteria, so we wouldn't want to do that. But still, all of those things, they appeal to your nafs, your desires, your whims, and your fitrah even. But for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you leave those things. That would be those things. If I were to drink water, if I were to have a piece of pizza, even with pineapple and cheese on it, it would be haram right now. But at Maghrib, it's permissible. Not just permissible, it is an obligation to break your fast. And mustahab, recommended to break it as quick as possible. And so that is patience with regards to disobedience to Allah. You are inclined to sort of disobedience, but you refrain from it. You would like to enjoy, akramakumullah, natural relations with your spouse or spouses. If you're a man and you have more than one wife, you want to enjoy that company. But right now, it's muharram. Right now, it's muharram. But at the adhan of Maghrib, jaiz, it's permissible. And it said that Umar, I believe it was, or Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, had such a prowess that he would break his fast sometimes with having relations with his wife, the halal. Radiallahu anhum. And patience in accepting the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sabr ala miqdarillah. Patience with regards to the decree of Allah. If something happens, may Allah protect us from that. Your automobile breaks down. You lose your money. You lose your wallet. I lose my keys out here. And then it becomes night. And then I'm fasting. And Ramadan, what a challenge that would be. What would I do? Would I behave haram and scream and yell and cry and have a fit? Roll in the dirt? Or would I make dhikr and say, subhanallah, O Allah, and start making remembrance of Allah and supplicating to Allah, asking Him to help me to find those things? So that would be the test. And that's the patience with regards to the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that way you don't despair or resent the decree of Allah Azza wa Jal. Patience is a great help in all matters. And there is no way for one who is not patient to achieve his goals, especially with regards to acts of worship that are difficult and are to be done regularly, because they require a great deal of patience to bear the hardship involved. If the one who does these acts of worship adheres to patience, he will attain success. But if he is deterred by difficulty and hardship and does not have the patience to persist in these acts of worship, he will not achieve anything and he will be deprived. So it shows us the manzil of sabr. And going back to the verse itself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. So Allah is addressing the believers, not the disbelievers in this ayah, not just all of mankind. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, asta'inu bi-sabri was-salat. Be patient through prayer, or seek help. Asta'inu, seek help through patience and prayer. That lets us know, how do we seek help? What 2 ways should we seek help? In all of our situations, what 2 ways should we seek help? Through patience and prayer. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says also in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. Verily it is something great, except for the khashi'een, except for those who have the humility and the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means most of mankind, they don't have that, even the believers. That's why we need this trait. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu wasta'inu bis-sabri was-salah. Seek help or assistance through patience and prayer. So that lets us know the fadl of patience, the fadl of prayer, meaning the superiority of patience and prayer, and that you should use that as a means to change your life. When you're having difficulty, seek refuge within Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and help from Allah. Pray rakatain. Make wudu. Pray rakatain. Or exercise sabr. And better yet, both. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu asta'inu bis-sabri was-salat. Seek help from Allah with patience and prayer. So it wasn't an either or, but rather you need to do both as a believer in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Imam As-Sa'di, he says, similarly, the sin for which one has a strong inclination and which is within one's means is something that cannot be resisted except by means of great patience, resisting one's inclination for the sake of Allah and by seeking Allah's help to protect one from it. For it is one of the greatest temptations and is also a very difficult test, especially if it is ongoing. So here, Imam As-Sa'di begins to talk about sabr on ma'siyatillah, patience with regards to disobedience to Allah. That we have to strive our best to not follow our desires and whims. And that's a sort of patience. Don't think that you don't have any patience. You do. For those who are addicted to porn or really love it, the fact that they're not doing it now during this month, hopefully, then this is a type of patience. They are exercising patience that Allah loves. But they should make tawbah for sure and have the resolve to not to return to that sin. But the fact that you're not doing your regular acts of disobedience that you like, you enjoy it. It's not that you're not doing that because you hate it or you don't enjoy it. Your nafs, your desires is inclined towards it. You like to look at those things. You like to listen to those things. And if you have a substance abuse issue, you like to drink the alcohol. It tastes good. It must taste good. Or the feeling of it. Likewise, the smoking weed. Likewise, even fentanyl or Suboxone or whatever, any drugs, you obviously enjoy it. That's why you do it. But by being patient for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and denying yourself those things, this is an act of worship, and this is patience with regards to disobedience to Allah. Imam Sa'di, he then says, in such cases, willpower and physical strength grow weak, and it may lead to resentment unless one resists it by means of patience for the sake of Allah and puts one's trust in Allah, tawakkul ala Allah, and turning to Him and expressing one's constant need for His help. As believers, we're in total dependency on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, all of creation is in need and depends on Allah, even if they don't realize it. But the believer is cognizant of that we need Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us to have another day to breathe, another day to get vitamin D from the sun, another day to speech, to use our vocal cords, hopefully for obedience to Allah. Another day to smell the scents and to be able to breathe freely. another day to worship Him in the various ways of dhikr, reciting the Quran, going over Tafseer, the explanation of the Quran, and through prayer, and through sabr, patience and obedience to Allah, and patience regarding disobedience to Allah. Both of those things, in fact, when you're fasting, you're exercising both of those two acts of sabr. Likewise, an element of sabr ala miqdarillah, the patience with regards to the decree of Allah, because it's Ramadan. Maybe you had plans, you wanted to go. It's sunny, you'd like to be at the beach, you'd like to do this, you'd like to do that, but for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're fasting, you're restraining yourself, you're restraining your activities. You decided, hey, I'm not going to go to the mall today, I don't want to see anything, it's not a necessity, I'll leave it off because I'm fasting. I don't want to see anything that distract me from the remembrance of Allah. So this is patience also. All those various types of patience. Finally, Imam As-Sa'di, he mentions, he says, therefore, we know that patience is something that people need. In fact, they are desperate. They are in desperate need of it in all situations. Hence, Allah has enjoined it and tells us that He is with those who are patient. Inna Allaha ma'a sabirin. Verily, Allah is with those who are patient. That is, He is with those for whom patience is second nature. He is with them in the sense of helping and guiding them. Thus, hardships and difficulties become easy for them. They become able to cope with any serious matter, and nothing is difficult for them. This kind of being with, this ma'iyah, is indicative of Allah's love, His help, His support and closeness. And it is a great privilege that is bestowed upon those who are patient. If those who are patient did not have any virtue other than the fact that Allah is with them, that would be sufficient honor for them. As for being with in a general sense, it means that Allah is with us by His knowledge and power. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, which means He is with you wherever you may be. This is general in meaning and applies to everyone. Allah enjoins seeking help through prayer, because prayer is the foundation of faith of Islam. It's a pillar of Islam, the second pillar of Islam, and the light of the believer. So if you want light and guidance in your life, it's through salat. It is the connection between the slave and his Lord. If a person's prayer is complete, including every obligatory sunnah action, it is done with the presence of mind that is its essence. When the individual begins to pray, feeling that he is indeed standing before his Lord, standing like a well-disciplined slave, focusing on everything that he says and does, fully immersed in conversing with his Lord and calling upon Him, then this prayer is most certainly one of the greatest forms of assistance in all of a person's affairs. Prayer restrains one from shameful and evil acts, because this focus in prayer will lead him to comply with the commands of his Lord and heed His prohibitions. This is the prayer through which Allah has enjoined us to seek help in all our affairs. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, to accept our good and forgive our evil. Have mercy upon Imam As-Sa'di and bless him with Jannat an-Na'im for the treasures that he left from his knowledge. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.